Hi there and big welcome to a cEDH tier list focused on the bottom section. You see, I've already made a top tier list, you could say, where we look at the top 10 best commanders, the most recommended ones. So now it's time to do the same thing for the 10 bottom ones. The big simple reason why we are categorizing them and looking at the top 10 and then looking at the top bottom is because there's just so many of them to go through. Here's basically the entire, or not the entire, here's the top 30 commanders. No, sorry, top 60. You have 30 here and then 30 on the other side. But now let's do a swap. Let's look at them from the bottom towards the top. And I'm gonna disappear for a second and you can look at the entire, not the entire list, we don't go to the entire top, so to say. As you can see, we have more than 60, in a way, commanders that we're currently ranking in the tier list. We're going to go over them one by one from the bottom towards the top in the top 20 of them, so to say. But do not waste your time, you have the entire answer here basically. Scan Buu, Urza, Heliod, Talion, Cyntus, Animar, Fang, Narset, Winota, Shorikai, Rograkh, Ishai, Tasigur, the Gitrog monster, Rowan and Cormela, Marwyn, Yuriko, Talion, Sauron, the Revi, and Breya. And Timna, and Malcolm, and Thyam, and then you start to have Selvala Heart of the Wilds on a 20% win rate. So if you're new to this YouTube channel, I calculate victories from various tournaments from this web page. Link in the description below of the video, as always, if you wanna scroll around and looking at this website. What you can find here are different online, or not only online tournaments, but here we have a play to win cEDH event, and you can see here that the winner was Magda Brazen Outlaw. We have a deck list, we have the wins, losses and draws, and from this we can start to basically calculate and collect data to basically create a tier list based on tournament performance. So the list you see here, they are none of my personal opinions. This is how various different commanders have performed on various different tournaments. So the first one out in the bottom section was Scan Buu, Timeless Hero. This is a Gruul commander with 55 tournament entries and a very sad average win rate of 11.35. The basic verdict why this commander is struggling and not truly recommended is that the Gruul color identity is lacking, and this commander is also lacking in win cons, so to say. Next on the list is Urza Mono Blue. This is a very popular commander. It actually has an 168 tournament entries, so there's a lot of people actually playing this, but it's only achieved a 12.71 average win rate. Now I've actually talked about this commander, why it is struggling quite a lot, showcasing my personal opinions on older videos, so I'm really happy to point out with facts that I was correct. When brought to tournaments, it's not really performing. The big verdict and the things I've been saying why this is bad and why this is struggling is because that the ways that this commander is actually interacting is kinda mediocre. Winter Orb, Back to Basics, Trinisphere, they aren't really shutting down your opponents efficiently enough. Also, this commander is lacking combo potential, so to say. Next on the list is the Mono White Heliod Sun Crowned. This gained some small popularity because there was a player that was actually really good at Magic and was playing a lot of Heliod and knew how to pilot it good. But still, it's not really performing good in general. That player was really talented and showcased how to play Magic really well, and he just enjoyed playing Mono White quite a lot. But in the end, Mono White is definitely struggling. This has a 1-card win con, or 2 actually, with Walking Ballista and Triskelion, but it's still very mana intensive, so it's kind of slow win con, even though you're like a 1-card combo, but you're only on white color identity, so the tutors is like Enlightened Tutor for your combo. So it's a little bit tricky to actually set up the win con, together with the part that Stax currently is kind of tricky to actually successfully interact with your opponents. Speaking of Stax, next on the list is Talion and the Gitrog monster, Abzan color identities, with a card draw engine in the command zone, which basically means that you're going to play some form of Stax control game where you slow roll into an Abzan colored combo of sorts. And that's really tricky. Stax, once again, is not really doing great inside this format. This is a Stax-orientated commander with a card draw from the command zone, but Abzan is also lacking combos, so it's not really working out. From a total 36 tournament entries, it has received a 14.58 win rate. Not recommended in other words. Next commander on the shopping block is another Stax-orientated commander with a card draw from the command zone, Cyntus Harvest Hand. It is drawing cards when you're playing enchantments, but that's just too weak. Or that ability is not actually weak, it's just that the green-white color identity is really lacking putting a good combo together, a good win con. And Stax, once again, is truly struggling. I kind of think that showcasing several different Stax commanders over and over is also showcasing that Stax is currently struggling inside this format. I made videos about that in the past, and what I said in those videos is still something I stand by. So from a total 51 tournament entries, we have a win rate of 15%. Let's round it up towards that at the very least. Then we have Animar, Soul of Elementals. This is not a Stax-orientated commander. This is a Storm commander of sorts. It's a little bit of a one-card combo commander, depending on how you look at it, actually. Some people might say it's a Storm commander, some people might say it's a Turbo commander. I'm gonna say that the combo is rather slow. It is not the fastest thing in the entire world. I've actually made some videos explaining why Animar is struggling. I've had people on the channel talking about, yes, you're correct, it's struggling, but here are some good suggestions of how to make Animar work. It's receiving a 15.67 average win rate from a total of 46 tournament entries. So it's not doing great, I think I was correct. And the big verdict is basically that the combo you're trying to go for is a little bit slow, and the possibility of interacting with this commander is really bad, together with you don't really have any form of value engine from the command zone. It's just a combo, it's just a strange combo engine from the command zone. The next commander, Shatterfang, Squirrel General, Golgari, black and green color identities. I'm gonna be honest here, I don't really know what this commander is actually up to. You have 32 tournament entries that have achieved a 15.70 average win rate, and it's doing something. I can see a lot of reasons why this is not great, but then overall I'm going to summarize it with, it's not really doing anything. Or well, it's doing something. But you need to be doing something that is trying to win the game really fast and trying to control the board state in some shape or form. And this commander is doing nothing of that sort. Now this one actually surprises me a tiny bit. Narset Enlightened Exile. From 69 tournament entries, we have a total of 15.76 average win rate. And this is also why I really enjoy doing these videos in this kind of perspective, where we're looking at how this commander actually have performed on tournaments. You don't get to hear my personal opinions, you get to see the actual outcome, the results. Because I personally believed that this commander would be great. It has, on the paper, a lot of things actually going for it. It has a very clean, or, well, it's Jeskai. Grixis is doing it better, but still, you have the Underworld Breach game plan with Brain Freeze and Lions of Diamond going for you. And this commander can steal your opponent's Underworld Breaches, your opponent's Mystic Remoras, your opponent's Rhystic Studies. So, in a sense, it has it on the paper once again. It should be working out, but in practice, it doesn't seem to be doing so. Now, one speculation right now, my personal opinion, or like I said, my speculation of why this result could be of this sort, is because that the turn count in tournaments, or in cEDH in general, is rather low, which means that the amount of how much you can exploit this is also rather low. In general, you will be attacking with this commander once in an entire game. So that kind of limits how much it can be exploited, so to say. If it had a trigger on it, it could trigger more often, and you could execute this ability more often. Or well, if you have extra turns, if you have extra combats, you can exploit it more, but it's a little bit tricky to build that in. So in the end, I think that the capacity, what it's doing is really good, but it's just that the format is such a fast pace that it's really hard to make this commander trigger, or not trigger, but to make this ability, use this ability more, so to say. Winota, Joiner of Forces, Boros, Stax orientated commander. I've been saying that this commander is really bad for a long time. I've been saying that it's struggling. There's a lot of different content on this YouTube channel where I go over its problems, and I mention it a little bit here and there. I'm usually showcasing it as an example to prove that Stax is kind of struggling and such. And it's really popular. We have 335 tournament entries, highest so far among the commanders we have actually looked at, and we only have a 16.20 average win rate. So we have a really high sample size here. The other ones had a pretty okay sample size, but this one is taking it up there in the popularity vote. But still, it's not doing great. And yeah, it's not been doing good for a while. People keep playing it because I think it's a very fun playstyle. I have to admit that I still play it because I think it's a very fun playstyle. But it's not recommended. The win rate is definitely down there. Azorius, Shorikai, white, blue and 2 generic, 99 tournament entries, 16.25 average win rate is also not doing great. It has a Cadra engine in the command zone, it has a pretty decent combo that it can go for, it has a pretty interesting game plan where you can play your commander without actually having creatures in play, giving you access to humility. That's rather cool, but still I think that the color identity of only white and blue is making it struggle, so to say. It is just a tiny bit too slow in general. So my card review for Francisco Foul Marauder was that it was an overhype. And yeah, this is the commander pair that people talked about quite a lot. Francisco together with Crom. Grixis Francisco with the Walking Ballista Agatha Sol's Cauldron. When it came, a lot of people said, yay, it's great. And some people said, no, it's an overhype. And I said it was an overhype. Now I actually thought that the win rate was going to be somewhere around 20%. I didn't think it was going to be this low. So you have a total of 63 tournament entries, which isn't huge. We could have more, and over time we are going to have more. But as you can see, you have 17.50 average win rate, which is kind of bad. Definitely putting it in the not so recommended kind of category. You know, while we're at it, let's actually take a look at Rograkh Silias. Now, this is one of the best commanders you can play currently inside this format. We have 589 tournament entries and an average win rate of 26.03. A lot of people compared Francisco Foul Marauder and Crom with Rograkh. And as you can see here, the data is supporting that no, they are definitely different. This one is better, and Francisco and Crom is worse. Slicer hired muscle. Monored aggro. I've made tons of video on this YouTube channel explaining why aggro is really bad, and I've even made a review for this commander explaining why aggro once again is bad and why this commander is basically going to struggle. The simple verdict is that you're going to start killing people here and there, but because of that you are helping people. I would personally argue that attacking in this kind of manner is group hug. I would say the Slicer Hide Muscle is group hug. You're basically killing people one by one, and once you have killed all but one, that person will win. Because Slicer can't really interact at all. So if you're figuring out that, okay, I'm going to be killed last, I'm just going to sit here and roll my thumb, watch everyone die to Slicer, and once Slicer has killed everyone, I will win. Because Slicer can't really interact with and stop combos. So yeah, it's not recommended. Don't play aggro. Don't play this kind of thing. Or well, you can play it if you think it's fun. Slicer is fun. And similar to what I said about Winota, I do sometimes play Slicer because it's fun. You don't always have to play the best of the best. If you wanna play something you enjoy, you should still play that. I'm just making an informed information for you to make your choices. If you're looking for something that is fun, but you also kind of want to win, then this might not be the recommended choice for you. There could be commanders that are fun for you, but might be performing on average better. So if you want to have something fun and you don't really care about your win rate, then yeah, this could be something for you. Sur the Enchanter have been one of the best commanders inside the entire format. It's Esper Necropotence in the command zone. Now, we haven't really seen that much tournament entries with Sur with existence of Necro Dominance. Maybe Necro Dominance will be a boost to Sur, so over time we could see more people playing Sur and also playing Necro Dominance in that deck, and then maybe that will increase Sur's win rate over time. But in general, Sur has been performing kinda weak for quite some time. We have a total of 80 tournament entries with a 17.60 average win rate. In other words, it's not doing so good. Now we have another super popular commander, Krick. So we have 280 tournament entries, and we have a 17.69 average win rate. And this actually makes a perfect opportunity to actually explain the plus 17.69 below that. That's the amount of difference the win rate has changed from the start of this year. And I would like to point out that there's been a typo in my data sampling. So it's increased by from 0 to 17.68. That's not correct. There was a typo. I accidentally typed in 0 win rate at the start of the year for Krick. So I don't know how much it have gone up or gone down compared to the others. For example, if we look at Francisco and Crom, they started higher and they have been going down since the start of the year by minus 3.09. While we don't know the outcome for Krick. But basically Krick is struggling in the fact that it has a really good game plan going for it, but it's very commander dependent and it's lacking in capacity in dictating and controlling the game. We have noticed that counterspells play a very good part in increasing your win rate, but also other factors that's helping you out in other ways, which is something Mono Black can't really reach. One thing that should also be pointed out is that the more colors you actually have, the higher the win rate in general. Next is Ishai and Jeska. Jeska color aggro deck basically. Okay, you actually have some other game plans here. You have Underworld Breach and such, which actually means that the win rate has been climbing up. As you can see there, plus 4.77 increase. So yeah, it's been gaining some momentum over time as Underworld Breach has become more of a possible combo for this commander pair. But still, the big focus of what this commander is doing is basically going face towards someone, or well, sometimes you're actually killing everyone in one swing, but I'm seeing that it's usually killing one by one. Similar problem to Slicer. You can kinda just sit there and wait for this one to kill everyone but you. But another big problem is that you're becoming something of the target. When you put these two commanders into play and you're starting to build Ishai, everyone is going to focus their interaction to make sure that you're not going to kill everyone. It's very important to not become the target inside this format, and this commander is becoming the target quite easily. Sounds kind of strange, but that's truly how it is. If you're playing Ishai and Jeskai, you might agree with me that people are often making sure you don't get to do the kill everyone in one swing thing. People are usually going to remove Ishai or something. Tasigur, the Golden Fang, I've made videos and explaining why this commander is lacking before. It was a very good video, I'm very happy what I said in that, and I still stand by what I said. From 84 tournament entries, it has received a 17.82 average win rate, making it not recommended. The Gitrog monster, the Gulgari black and green land frog, is sitting on a total of 17.82 average win rate from 74 tournament entries. And it's also been falling off pretty much. It's very easy to actually interact with this in various shapes and forms. Bounce the counterspell, the commander and such. It's very commander dependent and it's kind of slow in comparison to the speed of the current format. And you don't really have any good way of interacting with your opponents either. So yeah, it's been falling off. It was considered one of the better commanders in the past, and it really did perform quite well in the beginning. But it's been outpaced by better combo options, basically. Rowan, Sign of War, 17.96 average win rate with a total of 48 dex tournament entries. And yeah, it's not really great. It's been gaining some win rate over time, as you can see. It's increased by 8.63%, so that's a big increase. And it has something going for it, like you can reduce the casting cost of various very expensive black spells like Adnos, Peer and such, but still it's nah. It looks good in theory, but in practice it struggles. Cormela, Glamour Thief, it has a cool gimmicky trick going for it. Grixis color identity is great, but you have better Grixis options. The win rate has increased by tiny portion, but not that much. In finalized review, kinda, it's a little bit of a gimmick, and it's a little bit weird to set it up. You basically have better options than this. And as you can see, it's not super popular. It's like 36 is on the lower end of how many people are actually bringing it to tournaments. Marwyn the Nurturer, a green elf mono green deck, basically 18.91 average win rate with a total 47 tournament entries. It's kind of close in getting like somewhere, but the win rate is still on the lower end, making it not so recommended in the end. Yetmir, yeah! No, really, no. I don't like Yetmir. This is like a cEDH deck, or a deck that is functioning really well inside a cEDH format, has a clean, simple combo that it can go for, lots of color identities, and lots of good ways to interact with your opponents. This has nothing of the sort. It has 3 color identities, so that's sure, but those are Naya color identities. You're boosting your creatures to attack harder at your opponents. I've already talked about why Slicer is not doing great in that area, and why Slicer would be not so recommended. And this is just Slicer more. Slicer but better, so to say. You have Stax creatures to control your opponents that you're making huge with this. But Stax is also not really working out, as we've seen that there's a lot of different Stax commanders on this lower section of the tier list, so to say. In this not so recommended area, we also have a Yuriko Tiger's Shaddow. I don't think I need to explain this one. It's very popular. We have 417 tournament entries with a 19.10 average win rate. So we have a really clean and clear sign and data saying it's not doing great. The basic simple answer is that it's a very control orientated commander. Now it's very commander centric, but it's also very commander resilient. It can, like, you're gonna get your Yuriko into play. It's really hard to make Yuriko stay out of this game, but it's still going to play a really strong mid-range control plan, and you rather play turbo in general. So it's struggling because of that. It has some combos going for it, but we've also seen that Dimir in general, I've made videos about that as well, Dimir in general are struggling. You need to add red to make it kick off the ground. Thassa's Oracle, Consult, yes, that is good, but you rather have Undual Breach and red in that color identity as well. If this had red color identity on it, I think the win rate would skyrocket. Talion the Kindly Lord is another super popular commander, like who doesn't want to play Rhystic Study inside the command zone. I have actually looked at this commander win rate from time to time in various different YouTube channels to showcase difference. You see, Talion inside the 99 have proven to be really good. The win rate is usually going up when you have it inside the 99, but as a commander, it's not doing great. The simple verdict is the same as Yuriko. Yes, you're playing a pretty good value game plan with a good mid-range, you're drawing a lot of cards, and you're interacting with your opponents. But mid-range control decks are kinda struggling. You need a fast, efficient way to win your matches, so to say. By the way, it's kinda tricky to actually play Thassa's Oracle with this one too, because the card draw effect on this is not something you can skip. if someone is forcing you to draw a card, you have to. Which means that if you're trying to win with Fast as Oracle, someone could actually kill you in response. So that's also hurting this commander's potential to win the game. Once again, it is very important that you're able to win in a fast and efficient manner. And yeah, not doing that. It's controlling the game, but it's not winning the game. Sauron the Dark Lord. Really expensive. I actually thought this commander would have a much lower win rate, because it's really just an expensive commander. 6 mana is quite a lot. But it's still showcasing up. It's still in the not so recommended area, like 19.15 from a total of 63 tournament entries. So it's not dead. It can sometimes be okay. Like, we're starting to actually climb up the win rate quite a bit. We started at like 11 and 12 and 13, and now we're up to 19. The Revi Imperial Tactician Bunt has always been lacking combo options. It has an 113 tournament entries and a 19.19 average win rate. But it's really lacking in like finishing the game. I actually want you to take a look at that average draw rate, 19.60%. So yeah, it's controlling the game, making the game go long, making no one win, and yeah, not winning itself. It's drawing a lot of games. Stax decks and mid-range decks are usually getting a very high draw rate. Anje, not going to talk that much about it. 34 tournament entries, 19.40 average win rate. The win rate has actually increased by 3.22%, but still it's not in the great section. It's not doing great. It's always been a little bit of a one-trick pony, so to say. But after this point, we're getting into the not so terrible anymore. Like somewhere around 19 to 20%, it's kind of looking okay. I mean, a commander with, let's say, 15% win rate and 16% win rate are kind of the same. Some of you might say, oh, 16 is better than 15, but still, it's not that big of a difference. But there is a big difference when you start to look at the top end section. CEDH Weatherlight Captain is currently the winner at 27.01 average win rate from 874 tournament entries. The second in place is Tymna and Crom with 2038 tournament entries, the most popular commander pair ever, an average win rate of 26.65. Now, the big difference between CEDH and Tymna and Crom is like nothing. Sure, CEDH has, what is it, like 0.40% better, and that's nothing. So the verdict is that they are basically equal. And when you look at the bottom section, they are all also kinda equal. But there's a difference between the bottom section and this. I mean, here you have 26.65 and here you have 19.10. That's a jump. That's a bigger difference. That's where it actually starts to, you can observe that there's a difference. And then when you go lower to like Winota, Tymna and Crom had 26. So yeah, that's, or 26.65. So that's more than 10% difference in the win rate. I hope this video gives you some form of perspective or view on why some of these commanders aren't performing great. This is not a video that is saying that you shouldn't play a specific commander. It is just giving you some information of how some commanders have been performing so far on various tournaments. In my personal opinion, the commander tier list should be placed with the recommended section, the best area, and then the middle ground, and then the lower ground. We basically looked at the lower ground here, where I more or less think that they are all equal. Yes, there is some difference in the percentage here and there, but in general, they're equally bad, in my personal opinion. Or, well, not equally bad all the time. I mean, we started at 11 and then we ended at 19, and yeah, that's a difference. But still, I would say that 19 is not so recommended. It's just not as terrible as 11. Regardless, thank you so much for watching and have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next one.